I don't know how to start. The things I witnessed during my research are extremely cruel. The oppression they endured is horrifying. In fact, there is an account shared by a writer that is so shocking, you won't believe it when you hear it. In a moment, we will explore this prison and the events that have taken place within it. Here is the Sednaya military prison and its incredible truths. This is Sednaya prison, located 30 kilometers north of Damascus. Another name for it is the human slaughterhouse. It was built in the 1980s by the regime of Hafez al-Assad in Syria. Initially, it was designed as a prison for the Syrian army and military prisoners. However, starting from the 2000s, it became a place mainly for political prisoners. During the Syrian civil war that began in 2011, this prison became a symbol of the regime's repressive policies. The prison has an outer area protected by high fences in a square shape, and an inner section that includes two main buildings, as well as storage, maintenance rooms, and a structure for military personnel. The larger of these two buildings was where civilians brought in for various reasons were accommodated, while the other was primarily occupied by people with a military background. This was the building where mass executions were carried out. After a brief and unjust judicial process, prisoners were brought to this building and executed collectively. The executions were reportedly carried out secretly at midnight, with the approval of regime officials. The name of the prison seems to have been chosen deliberately, as Sednaya means the place of hunters or the hunting ground. This alone is a testament to how inhumane. Even the name of this prison reveals their intentions. People who exercise their human rights by protesting the regime would suddenly find themselves here. Imagine being inside, especially after nightfall, with no source of light whatsoever. People standing in complete pitch darkness suffered severe skin problems because they couldn't see the sun and therefore couldn't get enough vitamin D. The only way to see any light was for someone to come and open the door. Then more people arrived, and then even more. In rooms meant for only 2 people, 8 to 10 prisoners were crammed together. There were no beds inside. They slept on blankets spread out on the floor. In fact, some slept directly on the concrete floor because there weren't enough blankets. The toilet? It was simply a corner of the cell. Sleeping in that cramped space with the stench was probably the worst cruelty one could inflict on a person. But don't worry. They hardly ever used the toilet because there was another method to break their spirits: starvation. In footage I can't show here, every single person's bones were visible. Most died for this very reason. Sleeping at night? That was nearly impossible until you got used to the sounds of prisoners being beaten and their groans. Reportedly, if someone in the cell was being beaten, it was only a matter of time before it was your turn. They wouldn't just beat one person and stop. Often, belts and sticks were used during these beatings. Some would lose consciousness after the first blow, unable even to scream. This prison was a place where everyone inside went to sleep, not knowing what would happen to them the next day, fully aware of this uncertainty. Someone you talked to the day before might not be there tomorrow. There was an entirely arbitrary system of judgment based solely on their whims. While the Assad regime was still in power, a 3D model of this horrific prison was created. The information was gathered from people who had been held there for years, and the design was prepared accordingly. Until the fall of the Assad regime, most detailed insight into the prison's interior remains this 3D model. The executions were reportedly carried out secretly at midnight, with the approval of regime officials. The name of the prison seems to have been chosen deliberately, as Sednaya means the place of hunters or the hunting ground. This alone is a testament to how inhumane they were. The prison is designed to be divided into 3 sections, resembling a windmill. In the lower parts of this structure, there are cells where people sleep. Here are the actual images of those cells. This is the area where they live, spending the majority of their time in this space. The rear section is where they take care of their toilet needs. Torture sessions were reportedly held here. In this section, where no one stayed, the officials used various materials such as electrical cables, metal rods, rubber, and plastic tools during these terrifying sessions. The final section of the windmill-shaped structure reportedly housed a canteen and a dining hall. People reportedly hated going to the dining hall. This was because groups chained together would bump into tables and fall, often injuring or breaking parts of their bodies. This place was used for purposes other than dining. People, desperate from thirst, tried to draw water from dirty toilet hoses. One of Syria's prominent opposition thinkers, writer Michel Kilo, recounts a tragic and hair-raising event that occurred during his time in Sednaya prison. While there, he describes how a woman became pregnant by one of the prison guards and the fate of her child.
كنت بفرع التحقيق العسكري وكان فيه عنصر من الحراس اخواته 2 مساجين، فاجا مره سالني شو اسمك الحقيقي؟ قلت له اسمي الحقيقي، مع انه كان هذا ممنوع، كنا نضرب احيانا يستدرجونا نقول اسمنا الحقيقي، بيضربوك اذا قلت اسمك الحقيقي، بدك تقولي رقم الزنزانه دائما. فقلت له علي الامان، قال لك الامان؟ قلت له انا فلان. قال انت فلان؟ قلت له ايه؟ قال انت واللي بالطرف الثاني هنيك اكبر شجعان بالعالم، ما قدرنا ناخذ منكم شيء. قلت له مين بالطرف الثاني؟ قال لي رياض الترك. بالاخر اجى مره الساعه 3 بالليل، قال لي تعال معي بس تطلع صوت. اخذني على محل بعيد شيء 40 متر، فتح باب زنزانه وقال لي فوت احكي له قصه للولد. قمت عيط بالزنزانه، شفت في سيده عمرها 26 27 سنه يمكن، متكوره على ذاتها هيك، وخافت لما شافتني فايت. طبعا لها حق تخاف لانه عندها تجربه مريره معه. هي حبلت وجابت الولد بالزنزانه، وشفت طفل عمره شيء 4 5 سنوات، طفل هيك اسمراني حليوه صغير، وجهه منفخ هيك، يمكن لانه بشوف الشمس. فسلمت عليها ما ردت، خايفه، فقلت لها يا بنتي، لانه فعلا مثل بنتي هي، انا مطلوب مني احكي قصه لابني. فقعدت قلت له كان في عصفور. قال لي شو العصفور؟ انا يعني عم بحكي قصه للطفل، بذهني فكره الطفل المجرده، يعني الطفل العصفور والفاره والشمس والنهر والمي والفراشه، وقت لحالي المفردات بدي احكي له اياها. فقال لي شو العصفور؟ كيف بدي اشرح له شو العصفور؟ قلت له عم يطير بالساعه الشجره. قال لي شو الشجره؟ حسيت بالورطه، حسيت بمعنى كلمه هذا الشاب اللي ما بدي اقول اسمه لانه يمكن لساته بالامن، انه مانك مثقف وتحكي له كلمه، عم يتحداني اني اقدر احكي له قصه. فالمهم ما اعرف شو بدي احكي له، فغنيت له غنيه هذه ريما الحندقه، وبعدين غنيت له غنيه ماما زمنها جايه وهيك شغلات. بعدين دقيت على الباب والدموع مليانه بعيوني، والام قاعده على جنب وساتها متوشسه يعني. دقيت على الباب، بعد شوي اجا، قلت له طلعني الله يوفقك انا راح اختنق. قال ما حكيت له قصه. قلت له شو بدي احكي له؟ هذا عمره ما طالع من الزنزانه. ما هي؟ قال لي ابدا، لا بيعرف شو العصفور، لا بيعرف شو الطابه، لا بيعرف شو الشمس، لا بيعرف شو الشجره، ولا بيعرف شو الهواء، ما بيعرف شيء. بعدين سالته عن الام، قال لي جابوها رهينه عن ابوها اللي هرب على عمان، ومثل ما انك شايف جابت الولد هون. من فتره اتصل فيني واحد قال لي بدي اعمل فيلم عن القصه لانه هي سوريا. الحقيقه هي سوريا كانت اللي انا بامل من كل قلبي انها تطلع من الجو، حتى لو مرت بشويه فوضى وتعسرت شوي وتخبطت شوي وظهر فيها ظواهر غير مقبوله شوي، وهذا كله موجود ما فيني انكره. انا بزماني حكيتها بمؤتمر لحقوق الانسان بجنيف، قاعد شي 400 واحد، ال 400 واحد بكوا رجال ونسوان. شغله مؤسيه يعني، شيء ما بيخطر ببالك هالحجم الفظيع من الظلم اللي واقع على مرأة انه ابوه هربان على الاردن. ليس هناك قضيه سياسيه في حياه الانسان على الاطلاق الا قضيه الحريه. والانسان بتعريف ارسطو هو ذات حره وجديره بالحريه بغض النظر عن اي تعيين موضوعي اخر. هذا رهان الوجود الانساني، الحريه.
Which conscience would keep that child and their mother there? Which conscience would not let them see the light of day even once? Which conscience would not show those children the trees or the birds even once? If the devil took physical form, it could hardly be more cruel than this. After the fall of the Assad regime, interesting moments occurred. For instance, the imprisoned women couldn't believe those who came to rescue them for a long time. They looked at them with eyes full of fear. We saw children who had never seen the sun there. The survivors were celebrating as if they were children. Some of them were looking at the list, checking if their missing relatives were there. Assad, however, shamelessly denies all of this.